Hello, everybody. It's me, Mitch, in the kitchen. It's about noon. I'm about to have my first meal of the day, and today I want to talk to you about coffee and caffeine. A subject that has great controversy and many videos and opinions on both sides of the subject, which makes it very hard to actually get to the truth. And that's the burning question. And it's two separate questions. Number one, is coffee bad for you from the perspective of it being a plant derivative, or is caffeine bad for you by virtue of it being a stimulant that many people think is highly addictive? I've read both sides. I've read both sides of the issue, and they're both persuasive arguments, but does either side really have any more evidence to back up all of the different claims of it being great for you, of it being healthy, of it being bad for you, and the list of bad things that it can do to you, or the good things it can do for you, is kind of extensive. How do we know what to believe? How in the world do we know what to believe? We got to pick a side. Now, many of us really enjoy coffee, so our opinions are going to, like everything else, we're going to hear what we want to hear, see what we want to see, and believe what we want to believe. Isn't that how life works in all areas? And I suppose that I may be a little biased too, but we each for ourselves need to find an answer to that question. Now, if we don't enjoy coffee, don't like coffee, never drank coffee, we don't need to be concerned about it. It's not something that we need to worry about, kind of like I do with alcohol. I don't like alcohol. I never really drank. I don't need alcohol. I'm not addicted to alcohol. So even if there were a raft of studies telling me how good and beneficial alcohol might be for me, I'm probably still not going to drink it. On the other hand, like any other substance, if I enjoy it, if it makes me feel good, I'm going to want to try to find and believe those things that support my desires and my position about whether I need alcohol or not. What should I do? What should I do? Should I drink my coffee, believe all the good things, or wean myself off of coffee, put up with a day or two of headaches, and that's the caffeine aspect of it? What should I do? What should you do? It's an individual question. We all need to answer that for ourselves. We all know what it's like to do things that so many people say is bad. We are carnivores after all, but obviously we're convinced it's a good thing to do. It's tough to put aside your own personal preferences, but if you really want to try to make an informed decision, you have to do that. So I did. I went and researched it. I went and looked at so many of the different videos that so many of the different people put out, especially Andrew Huberman and some of the more, I use the term OCD people about diet who think you need to micromanage basically everything. And obviously, since not only do I drink coffee, but obviously since I have a morning live stream entitled Morning Coffee with Mitch every morning, and I even made available coffee cups that say, drink it if you got it. There's no no doubt as to what my decision is. And I'm going to share with you some of the things that made me confident that just like my puffing on cigars, something I enjoy, is not harmful. Not harmful to me, especially when you don't inhale any of the smoke. That drinking a certain amount of coffee might not only not be harmful, but actually there might be some benefits to it. There might be some benefits to it. There's a lot of myths surrounding coffee and caffeine. And most of the time when the discussion comes up about coffee, it centers around caffeine. So in that instance, people are concerning themselves not with the plant toxins that might be in it, but only with the caffeine. So most advice about drinking coffee centers around caffeine. And even in decaf coffee, there's still some caffeine. They say 15 to 20 milligrams, whereas in a regular cup of coffee, a brewed coffee, it can be anywhere from 80 way up to 150, depending on the type of coffee, the type of brewing method, and other things. The one overreaching conclusion I've drawn, at least as far as the plant toxin aspect of coffee, is that my body, all our bodies, have mechanisms and pathways to rid ourselves of small amounts of toxins, and that's why you always hear the dose is the poison. And that, I think, is the overreaching conclusion I've made about caffeine. But I think that the plant toxins that might be present in coffee are no worse than the plant toxins you might have if you use a little seasoning like garlic or black pepper on things. And our bodies can handle that. Our kidneys can handle that. I don't see any ill effects, at least for me. And you don't hear too many people who say, I'm allergic to coffee. I have terrible reactions, which is something that happens quite often with foods from the plant kingdom. So as much as I've read, as much as I've seen, 90-something%, maybe even 95% of what you hear is not about the plant aspect of coffee, but about the caffeine. So I'm dismissing, for my own purposes and my own worry and concern, any of the things that you might hear about. Well, coffee comes from plants. Yeah, it does. As far as caffeine goes, man, you can find any video, paper, you can find almost anything to support whatever your opinion has to be, which, like I said before, makes it very difficult for us to actually make an informed decision, and we usually end up going with our preference and justifying it to ourselves by listening to one expert over another expert. That's life. That's just the way it is. Just the way it is. The one overarching and most important fact that with all of the testing and all of the so-called studies, and again, you have to be suspect of so many of them that have been done, is who's promoting the study. Is the coffee industry putting this study out? Is the tea industry demonizing coffee so that you'll drink tea? How about the soft drink industries? Would they rather have you drink Coca-Cola, which is loaded with caffeine? And if you find a legitimate study, and there have been some, I think the overreaching fact that I've seen, both in researching and searching the search engines for answers, which we know aren't always reliable, is that indeed with caffeine, the dose is the poison. Some people say if you have less than 800 milligrams a day, it can't hurt you. Some people say if you have less than 600 milligrams a day, that can't hurt you. And since the average cup of coffee has 100 milligrams of caffeine, that's 4, 5, 6 cups of coffee a day, something that even an ardent coffee drinker rarely exceeds. With me, it's 2, 3, and on some days, maybe even 4 cups if I drink a cup of coffee, and generally decaf, at night while I'm doing a live stream or something. I waffle back and forth between whether I should drink more decaffeinated coffee and less coffee with caffeine. And I've kind of settled on my first cup of the coffee a day. I usually drink decaf because I want to let my body wake up from natural signals of sunlight, dawn effect, and other things that signal our circadian rhythm that it is morning. Fire up the machinery, get ready to live the day. But after that, I will drink caffeinated coffee. There are purported benefits to caffeine. It does sharpen you up. It does stimulate you. And if you watch these videos that purport the fact that you can drink coffee, a lot of these benefits are put out there. In fact, I've put a link to a video. This is one of the better ones, believe it or not. It's 2 gastroenterologists, a man and a woman, sitting there debunking, I think it's called 13 coffee or caffeine myths. And I think they did an excellent job and made some very good points. And I think that this would be a nice place for you to watch, a nice video to start with. And I think that most of what they said in there is true. And that there, at least for me and so many other people, are so many more benefits to drinking coffee or drinking caffeine than detriments if you keep your dose under, let's say, 600 milligrams a day. Because all the studies, it seems, that talk about the bad things that caffeine does is where they give people huge doses of caffeine, like you hear in some of these studies. You know, they give mice 10 times the amount of caffeine that a normal person might eat, and it did this bad thing, it did that bad thing. Well, of course it's going to. You drink too much water and it does bad things for you. So keep in mind, my final conclusion is it's not something to worry about. If you enjoy the feeling you get from coffee, if you enjoy the relaxation from a cup of coffee, drink your coffee. There's some controversy about how late you should drink coffee and how it affects sleep. So generally after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I will not have any caffeinated coffee, and that seems to solve all that. And there are opinions even on whether caffeine in moderate doses even screws up sleep for everybody. So I've got 5 strips here for this meal of Wright's thick bacon, which is about at least a half a pound. I've got 5 pasture-raised eggs. I'm frying the eggs in all of that bacon grease that was left from frying this bacon. And It is a fabulous meal with a perfect fat to protein ratio. So my decision for me was that I'm going to drink coffee, probably no more than 4 cups a day. I'm going to stop drinking coffee with caffeine around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not going to worry about it. It makes me feel good. I enjoy the relaxation from sitting and sipping a cup of coffee. That's me. Do the research for yourself. A good starting place might be this video I recommend. You'll find the link for that in the description down below. And answer the question for yourself. Answer the question for yourself. Now, when you come to my morning live stream, Morning Coffee with Mitch, every morning at 8:30, except usually Wednesday at 10, whether you drink coffee or not, you're certainly welcome. You're certainly welcome to come to the live stream. The live stream is like a support group for all of us carnivores to meet with like-minded people in the chat. It's becoming popular. It's like a AA meeting for meat eaters, for carbohydrate addicts, and great sense of community. So my omelet is just about done. I've told you my views. I have a disclaimer on my shirt. I may be wrong, but I doubt it. This lifestyle is working famously for me. I keep trying to make sure that the stuff that I'm doing is helping me, not hurting me. And coffee is just another one of those things that happens to be an important part of so many of our lives. Now, I got most of that bacon grease into the eggs. And I gotta tell you, as far as a meal goes, it doesn't get much better than this, my friends. So while it's hot, I'm gonna go eat this, relax, enjoy it, maybe even have another cup of coffee. I hope that answered a question for you that maybe you had and that you enjoyed this and maybe even learned a few cooking techniques while you watched. So while I eat my breakfast, the rest of you, take the rest of the day off. Drink coffee if you want to. But most certainly, eat meat.